Great. Okay. Good afternoon. I'm Max Winitz, the Public Information Manager for the Franklin Police Department. To the reporters, the photogs here today, thank you so much for being here. I'd also like to take the opportunity to thank all of those watching live right now on the city's Facebook page. We appreciate you tuning in. Today we're going to give you an update on the Peggy Cox case. This past Saturday marked the 34th anniversary of her passing. As all of you know, this is the only unsolved homicide in the city of Franklin. Giving remarks today will be Franklin Police Chief Deb Faulkner, Detective Matt Thompson, and Peggy's daughter, Desiree Cox. If you need correct spelling for any of their names, just come see me afterwards. I'll provide that to you. I also want to tell you that Detective Thompson and Ms. Cox will be available for one-on-ones if you want to get that after the Q&A session we have up here at the podium. I also want to acknowledge the rest of the Cox family here with us today. Jude, Peggy's son, Rachel, Peggy's daughter, and then Peggy's grandson, Lucas. So thank you very much for being here. So without any further ado, I'd like to introduce you to the police chief for the city of Franklin, Deb Faulkner.
Our purpose today is twofold: to ask for the public's help to solve this murder and to tell Peggy Cox's story, because she deserves it and so does her family. Peggy Cox was a 49-year-old widowed mother of 3. She had 2 daughters, as Max said, Desiree, Rachel, and a son, Jude. She lived in Lawrenceburg, Tennessee before moving to Franklin and going to work for the Hardee's restaurant on Murfreesboro Road in Franklin. She attended Mass at St. Philip's Catholic Church in Franklin. Peggy had been working at Hardee's for 2 years, and while she kept to herself, she was much beloved by her family and close friends. The day she was murdered was her birthday and her day off. But she came to work that night because the restaurant needed her on the late shift. They were just about to close when this tragedy took place. Even though it's been 34 years ago, the men and women of the Franklin Police Department have never forgotten Peggy Cox. We don't want the public to forget her either. Someone possibly knows something. If so, we want to know. I'm very thankful that Detective Matt Thompson continues to work on this unsolved mystery. I'm thankful for his hard work, his dedication, and more importantly, that he cares about solving the murder of Peggy Cox.
All right. Thank you, Chief. And now Detective Matt Thompson.
Good afternoon. On the late evening of February 1st, 1991, Miss Peggy Cox was working her normal night shift at the Hardee's restaurant on Murfreesboro Road. A male voice was heard over the drive-through intercom that was sounding throughout the restaurant. He ordered his meal, drove up to the drive-through window, and reports from witnesses inside the restaurant said they heard 2 gunshots fired. Ms. Cox's son, Jude, found his mother suffering from a fatal gunshot wound to the head on the floor of the Hardee's restaurant after the suspect had fled the scene. There were several eyewitnesses to the vehicles within the drive-through that night, none of which saw specifically the shots fired. One of the vehicles that we looked for the past 34 years is a light-colored Nissan Sentra, possibly a late 80s model, with a personalized license plate of Liz or Lisa. We have not been able to locate that vehicle, and we are still to this day running down leads on trying to find that vehicle and the owner of the car. Like I said, over the past 34 years, multiple detectives have been assigned this case. Every year we get tips, some big, some small, some pretty quick to rule out, and other ones are more labor intensive. But each year we run down these tips. Right now, there's up to a $26,000 reward for information given to us that will provide the arrest of a suspect in this case, and that reward comes from several different agencies. What we're hoping for now is 34 years after this terrible tragedy that somebody can come forward, whether it be because of their conscience or the money. At this point, we just need someone to come forward and provide that piece of information that can help this family have some sort of closure and to bring Peggy's killer to justice.
Thank you, Detective Thompson. And now I'd like to introduce Peggy's daughter, Desiree Cox.
It's been a long 34 years, and it's time for some answers in this. And it's been a hard 34 years, so we'd really appreciate some help with this and anyone coming forward. We know you're still out there, and people know what happened, and we really would appreciate some help with this.
Before we do open it up to questions, I want to highlight the number on this board here. This is the non-emergency number for the Franklin Police Department, 615-794-2513. If you have information, that is one of the two numbers you can call. The other number is the Williamson County Crime Stoppers number, 615-794-4000. I can't emphasize this enough. You can remain anonymous when you make those phone calls. So that would be greatly appreciated if anybody out there has information on this case. So like I said, we will open it up to any questions that you have. Detective Thompson and Desiree will also be available for one-on-ones. So if you do have any questions, feel free to raise your hands. Matt.
I know that previously the FBI had been involved some degree in the case. Can you talk about the current state of any state and federal agencies or resources in the investigation?
The FBI has been involved in the past, specifically when Detective Barnes was on the case, because he was basically contracted to the FBI to work for them as well. Lately, there have not been as much federal assistance to us, mostly because this is a case that would be typically handled by a local jurisdiction. If we do require any resources from any sort of state or federal agency, they've always been very willing to help us with that. And as recent as a couple of years ago, I enlisted the help of the TBI to search a property in another county related to this case. So they're not actively with me every time I run something down, but they are absolutely willing to help in any way they can.
In terms of the evidence from past evidence of the collectors, is there anything that's, potential key in terms of new technologies, or is it mainly based on
At this point, it's mainly based on the public's input. The reason for that is that 34 years ago, when this crime happened, the nature of the crime itself is very unique. Half the crime scene drove away. There were no shell casings recovered. If the gun created a shell casing in the act of firing, it likely would have went inside the vehicle. So there's very little physical evidence. We also don't really know the motive. You can't really rob somebody through a drive-through. There was no money missing, anything like that. So a lot of these cold cases through the years, you get hit on DNA databases or fingerprints or something like that. In this case, like I said, because of the nature of the vehicle leaving the scene, we don't really have that. And that's been an uphill battle since the night it happened. Yes. There are some leads, mostly coming in from citizen tips. But a lot of times those are just so vague and they're hard to run down. And a big problem that we run into now is the fact that it has been so long that a lot of the people that were witnesses that day have either passed away or moved far away, and we're losing the people that were there that night. So that's the biggest lead we have, is that vehicle. I know when this happened, the police department put out several news releases looking for that vehicle, but were never ultimately successful in finding it. Yeah. It was 2015 or 2016, probably right when I started here, so it was a while back. I think at this point, it's just good to kind of consolidate everything that like I said, it's been so many years. The information needs to be consolidated at some point so we can kind of figure out exactly what we're working with. Over these years, hundreds of people have been interviewed, hundreds of pieces of evidence have been collected. These interviews have gone from audio cassettes all the way to what we have in digital files now. So we wanted to get this word out in a more formal manner to again plea for the public's help, because I think we're kind of running up against the clock on this one. Well, like I said, 34 years ago, so much time has passed that witnesses, evidence, all those things are degrading. And every day that passes, we lose a little bit more in the ability to solve this case. In my opinion, it looks like it was random. I don't have any inclination. I've never found any hard and fast evidence through interviews or physical evidence to indicate that this was some sort of targeted attack.
All right, well, thank you guys very much for being here. Again, to the Cox family, thank you as well. Thank you to everybody tuning in on Facebook right now. To kind of touch on your question about why now, Courtney, I just want to pledge that from the Public Information Office, my pledge to you, the family, is to continue to push this out, not just on anniversaries, but anytime we think it's viable. We want to get, speaking for the whole department, we want to get resolution. We want this person behind bars no matter how long it takes. And I want to be able to invite each one of these reporters and photographers back here, hopefully in the not so distant future, where we can make a major announcement. So that is the goal. So thank you guys, appreciate it.